All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order. I'm Marjorie Winters, and this is the meeting of the Open Space Stewardship and Policy Work Group. And today we have Susan Messino, who's on the Open Space Work Group, and we have staff, Tom Hazel, Tom Fitzgerald, Tom Dabrowski, and Orlando Cassiano. And we have a guest today. We have Daniel Levine. So first off, we'll tend to a little business meetings from the minutes from January 5th. Did anyone see any corrections, anything they wanted to add or change to those minutes? Susan?
I'm going to be honest, Marjorie, I didn't even have a chance to look at them.
Well, then why don't we table them?
Can we just table them? And I usually just skim through them, but
yeah.
I don't feel comfortable approving something I haven't even looked at. So
that's fine. So we'll just table them. And then, so let's go right to the meat of the meeting, discussion of the Open Space Rangers program. And we're really lucky to have you here, Daniel, to explain this to you. I know several years ago I was down in Ridgefield and I learned about the program and I thought it was wonderful. It took Susan to actually, put the fire under us and get it started. So, Daniel, would you like to explain how it works?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I am a member of Ridgefield's Conservation Commission. I've been a member for I think it's been like 6 years now. And when I first started with conservation, there was a very sort of like informal volunteer program going on that wasn't very active. And a lot of people, as you guys probably know, a lot of people don't really know what a town's conservation commission does. And so, what I decided to do, I feel like I joined conservation because I care about this kind of thing and I wanted to get involved with the town. And this felt like a great commission for me to sort of start my political, my involvement in Ridgefield. And I didn't know a lot about what conservation did either. But I'm able to, my background is in communications and being able to expand like social media stuff and PR and all that kind of fun stuff. And again, I saw that the Conservation Commission was sort of lacking that. And if I ever asked anybody, do you know what the town's Conservation Commission does? Nobody really knew what that was. So I started off sort of getting the word out to the town about what conservation was. And that was sort of expanding our social media platforms and creating an e-blast list so that when we, if there was an event or if there was something that we wanted the town to know or residents to know, that we could start having a database of people. And as I said, there was a small volunteer group, but nothing really formalized for the ranger program. So I pitched the idea to the Conservation Commission, and everyone was like, "Great, if you want to start that, go ahead." And it was really, I think, it's a great. It took some time, but it is a great. It's a great thing for the town. It's a great thing for the community, and it's a great thing for conservation because our Conservation Commission, I think, has 10 members on it. And 25% of Ridgefield is open space with like 55 miles of trails. 3,000 acres of open space in Ridgefield, and it's impossible for a 10-member Conservation Commission to really manage that. I mean, yes, of course we can manage it, but to really have boots on the ground or eyes on every trail or eyes on every open space, especially after winter, especially after a storm. We want to be able to keep our trails and open spaces and parks accessible for everybody and safe for everybody. So we created this ranger program where just that, the rangers essentially act as the eyes for the commission, what they are meant to do. And we've got about 50 rangers right now. And it's not just individuals. It's like we have ranger families. We have, like a Boy Scout troop that acts as a ranger. We have a ranger, like we have a private school in town, Worcester School. And, this like the 6th grade class acted as a ranger last year. So it's, it's not just individuals. We make it creative and it's a really fun thing for people to do. But essentially, as I said, they're meant to act as the eyes for the commission. They are meant to report back to the commission at least 4 times a year with their findings. We assign them to a specific trail or open space, usually what is most convenient for them. If it's a space that borders their home or that they just hike, every couple of months or whatever, they can choose. We have a walk book in town. The conservation created a walk book and it lists all of our open spaces and shows the borders and all that. So a ranger can actually just choose what they want to do. So for example, like a place like Hemlock Hills, which is one of our largest open spaces here in Ridgefield, I probably have 7 rangers attached to that just because so many people live near it. That's a favorite. And so people tend to gravitate to that. And then there's other smaller ones that just happen. Like by my house, there's one called McManus, which really nobody goes to. But because it borders my property, I took on that one, right? So that's what people do. And as I said, they're meant to report back to the commission. Some rangers and ranger families are very active, and I get weekly emails from them. The red trail is blocked by a tree, or I think that there might be illegal dumping on, in open space, or invasives are going crazy over here. What can we do? It's that kind of thing. And as I said, some are very, very active, and others really do the minimum, and they'll, which is fine, which is great. It's just all about community involvement. And they will report, the ones that are not very active will report at least, as I said, 4 times. And when I say report back, they simply have to send me, as the manager of the ranger program, an email just saying, spring, March or whatever, I hiked Hemlock Hills. I noticed that the yellow blazes on many of the trees have faded over this season. And I think that maybe the Conservation Commission should think about repainting them. So it's literally just things like that. It's very active after a storm, because that's when a lot of people go, and then what we don't allow our rangers to do is to use any equipment to cut down if there's a fallen tree that's blocking a trail. They're only meant to contact us. They're not allowed to do any physical work like that. They certainly can. If it's, branches and stuff like that, they can clean up. They are allowed to reblaze. We provide them with paint from our, if somebody is interested in, reblazing a trail or a property or open space with their family and they want to make it a project, we will give them the paint. They know that they can always come to our office and grab the paint and paintbrushes, and we provide them with like a guide to how to blaze, how to reblaze. And what else do they do?
Can they use pruners?
They can. They can. Yep. It's really just for insurance. The town wanted us not to allow them to use chainsaws or anything like that. It's and then we will either go out and physically clear, cut down a tree, or hire a crew to do it. Oftentimes the Conservation Commission is not a big part of the town's budget. And so we tend to do a lot of the physical stuff ourselves as commissioners. And sometimes when there's an opening for a new commissioner, that's oftentimes people that we're looking for, people that actually can do some physical work. But what I found is that it has, as I said, it's a 10-person commission. And so it's impossible for us to really do all of the work or to even make it to every single open space or trail every year. And then we'll have work parties where I will e-blast out to all of the rangers. Hey, listen, next weekend on Saturday from 9 to 4, let's all meet at let's meet at McKeon Farm and do some invasive cleanup. And that's always really fun for people. And listen, it's a way to get this stuff done that oftentimes can't get done. As you know, I'm sure invasive is a huge thing. So it's like I said, it's a great program. The way that we get new rangers is that we post about it at each trailhead, parking lot of each trail in the kiosk. So most of our trails have trailheads with kiosks that we put information about becoming a ranger. We've created a pamphlet and brochures that we put at local restaurants and coffee shops and bookstores, hardware store. We, on our social media, we always talk about it. We have a local sort of online newspaper called Hamlet Hub, and they will always, anytime that we're looking for more rangers or whatever, that they will post stuff for us. And then, like I said, I've expanded our mail list, essentially, like, MailChimp e-blast. So I'll e-blast people and it'll just get passed around and people leave the program. But then new ones always come. So like I said, there's at any given time, there's about 50 rangers. There's probably about 20 really active rangers. Every year we do a ranger appreciation thing where we
do a nice ranger appreciation thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you were there. That's right. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry that I forgot.
No. You did lovely. I was so impressed. Impressed.
Did you come to my theater?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's gorgeous.
Thank you. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So that's a fun thing. And people, we give them a hat. We give them like a hat and they can wear, what we do. I send out for any new ranger, I'll send out like a package to them with all of their ranger stuff so they can get really stoked and excited about it. And it's, it's about how to reblaze a trail. It's about welcome. It's just all the like information that I just told you, like 4 times a year kind of thing. They'll get a parking pass so that they can put, and by the way, it doesn't really do anything, but it's basically like Ridgefield official business that they can park, when they park at the trailhead, that they put that in their in their car, in their windshield, and then they'll put their ranger hat on so they can be identified and they're going to do work. And it's just something to make them feel, they really are, it really is an important and valuable thing, but we want to also make them feel that it's an invaluable thing and make them feel that they are really doing something important for the community, which they are. So that's really how it works. But that's how I would say 90% of the time that we know about illegal dumping is from the rangers. And that's how we get our, enforcement agent on that stuff, is because of the rangers. So it's a good thing.
And Daniel, you said they come to your office. Where is this office?
So the Conservation Commission has a small office in Town Hall Annex. It's about as big as the room that I'm in right now. And it's basically where the Conservation Commission has an admin person where we're allowed to use them for 12 hours, something like 12 hours per week. That comes from the town budget, the admin person. We get a lot of emails, daily emails from, a neighbor, neighbor fights or wanting to, donate property or wetland stuff and by the way, for a really long time, our inland wetlands was combined with planning and zoning. And it's only 4 years ago now, I think, that we split inland wetlands from planning and zoning. So we had a lot of responsibility because what tends to happen when there is a combined inland wetlands with planning and zoning, sometimes there are conflicts of interest. And so it was always up to conservation to comment on applications all the time, because we had really great, soil scientists and engineers and on our Conservation Commission. When the town voted to split planning and zoning, inland wetlands from planning and zoning, a couple of our members moved to the new inland wetlands. So it's actually inland wetlands that has to do all the commenting now for planning and zoning when there's applications and stuff like that. So it sort of freed us up a little bit, but there's always so much work. And I think that many years ago, it got added to the town budget that we were given an admin person for very limited hours per week.
So do the emails from the rangers come to that email that is with the, or do they come to the chairman of conservation?
Yeah. The ranger, because I'm head of the ranger program, they come to me.
Okay.
If there's non-ranger stuff, would go, regular conservation stuff would go to add the admin person who then will forward it to the right person or to the chairman of conservation, Jim Coyle.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a combined inland wetland conservation, and conservation tends to get short shifts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And a lot of their calls seem to be the calls we get on a daily basis here in the land use department. So,
yeah. The splitting, the splitting of inland wetlands planning and zoning in Ridgefield was a thing in this town, and ultimately it all worked out well, and didn't increase taxes, and it didn't make it more difficult for builders, but yeah, it was a thing. It was a thing in town. That's all I'll say, since this is being recorded.
No. When you say they report back 4 times a year, do you have forms for them to report back for the very?
I don't. I probably should, and I don't. That is something that I want to do. No, they simply I wanted to make it as easy as possible for them, and so I didn't want to formalize it, but I actually think, to your point, that if they had a form, it would be probably even easier than what it is. But no,
I know. I'm on the Simsbury Land Trust here, and we've just instituted forms, and it just, people can just check off and put comments in, and that it has made it easier for them.
Yeah, I know. I have to do that. I'm ready.
Record. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is excellent. I know I've been asking all the questions. Does anyone else, the staff, have any questions? Because
Marjorie, I was going to ask the question about the reporting mechanism, but you hit that pretty well. Dan, do you ask do you give them any like talking points in those reports back, like the date they inspected the trail or anything like that, or conditions observed, or anything like, are they told to look out for dumping or washouts or trees, or I'm just curious, like what in the initial packet they're told to look for.
Yeah, and the initial packet here, let me just minimize this, and I will just open this really fast. Hang on. Rangers. All right, so like, for example, hello, Rangers. Often I talk to friends and neighbors about our trails and open spaces, and people really seem to have no idea what conservation does, and especially how invaluable Ridgefield's Rangers are. We rely on you to know the conditions of our trails and open spaces. Our goal is to expand the Ranger program and to bring more town-wide attention to our Rangers. We fully understand that people's lives get busy and commitments change. So the first thing is to find out this is an email. This is a letter that went to existing Rangers that weren't very active. So we fully understand that people's lives get busy and commitments change. So the first thing is to find out if you would still like to be a ranger. I send this out every year, or if you would like to be removed from the list. Before you answer, let me list how I plan on making ranger communications more simple and easy for you. First of all, as a ranger, you know that the responsibilities are walk a trail or open space at least 4 times a year, just 4 times. Keep the trail free of any debris or litter if you are able to. Be on the lookout for any damage. Check to see if trails are clearly marked and communicate to the Conservation Commission your findings. To make this easy, we've created a special email address, blah, blah, blah. So that was existing rangers. But then on this one, ranger responsibilities, walk the open space regularly at least 4 times a year. Note the conditions of trails and posted signs. Note any violations such as dumping, fire, vandalism. Discourage use of motorized vehicles in any open space. Note any unusual conditions in the flora or fauna. Reporting, just talks about reporting, where to send it to me, where they can remove litter. Do not create any new trails without first mark and blaze trails according to the standards listed on the attachment. Do not create any new trails without first walking the proposed route with a member of the Conservation Commission. Keep the perimeter of open space posted with appropriate signage available from RCC. Then it talks about the annual meeting. So that's how we list it all. And like I said, the very, very active, because our conservation meetings are open to the public, oftentimes new rangers will decide to come to a conservation meeting just to understand what it's all about and then get excited about it. Like I said, there's more active rangers and some that are less active, but I will sometimes get very detailed reports from people, pages, and then I will sometimes get an email from a family. Hey Dan, we walked Hemlock Hills this weekend. Everything looks terrific, and we love being a ranger. And that's it, and that's fine.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I have yes.
Hey, Dan, Then a quick question. When someone reports to you an issue with a trail, whether it's a tree issue or a dumping issue, do you report that to DPW, Parks Department? Who typically goes in there after you know of an issue to take care of a problem?
Yeah, so I will first bring it to our chairman, Jim Coyle, who's been the chairman of conservation for a few years now. If sometimes Park and Recs will do it for us, we'll do some cleanup for us. Other than that, we like I said, we have to pay for it, but we have our cleanup crew that can do the removal. The town, it's because we're on the town budget, we get a small amount of money every year to run conservation, but we also have our open space fund. So like we do our annual appeal every year, and some monies that we get from that and other, grant opportunities and stuff like that are in our bank account. And so we can spend money on cleanup and removing trees. And listen, Ridgefield is such an odd, in such an odd location that our windstorms can get really, really bad. So it will be sometimes that we have, 40 fallen trees in our 3,000 acres, and it will take, 2 months for us to, properly get everything passable and clean it up. But that's sort of like the sequence of events. I'll go to Jim, and we will Jim will then go to Rudy, our first selectman, and say, hey, can Parks and Recs take care of this? Or, whatever. Ultimately, they'll say no, and then we spend money for our cleanup crew.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah.
I was intrigued by the Open Space Fund appeal. This is something sent out by the town to the public to say if you want to just support public open space.
Yeah. Yeah. Every year I'll send you what this year's appeal letter looked like.
That's lovely.
Appeal
All right.
letter. Yeah. That's right. So we'll write a letter. First of all, I also created, I do a newsletter every season to then we e-blast this out and post it and get press on it. So that the community in the town understands what we, what do we do in the winter? What do we do in the spring? What do we do in the summer? It's usually like a 5-page newsletter that people really enjoy. But then at the end of every year, we'll do an annual appeal, and it will be physically mailed out with like a return envelope, for a check or credit card stuff, whatever. There's some significant funding from our annual appeal.
Wow. Now, is there also a land trust in Ridgefield?
There's the Land Conservancy, and I often get confused what that's a private thing. That's not through the town though.
No, but I mean, is there a private? I know here we have the Simsbury Land Trust, and they own a certain amount of property in town. So does Ridgefield also have a private land trust owning land?
Yeah, Ridgefield has, so it's the Conservation Commission, which has like the majority of, but then there's something called the Land Conservancy, but that's not a town thing. It's like,
No.
Yeah. So there's that too. And they also get a lot of donations.
And do you ever work, together with them we
have a great relationship, and they'll come to our ranger appreciation stuff and, anything, but there hasn't really been much to do. There was a man named Ben Oko that was on Land Conservancy and Conservation Commission. And I think when he was on it, there was a little bit more, working together, but yeah, I'm not aware of projects that we're working on together. Yeah.
Excellent. And I have one more question. Do you mind if we crib some of your work? If we lift generously from your publications and things?
No, I'm happy for you. That's totally fine. Whatever you want. What did I send you? What did I send you?
Daniel, you sent me those 2 zipped files, which included a whole bunch of files like the welcome letter, the trailblazing instructions, a whole bunch of I think you probably sent us, basically your whole toolkit.
Did I send you the brochure that we made for Rangers, all the graphics and stuff?
I think that was in the second one because that file is a little bit bigger.
Okay.
Why don't we check, and if we can't find it, we can ask you about it.
Great. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, basically it is like the brochure. It's like the parking thing that I'll send out. We'll send out our walk book. They'll get a free walk book with it. Otherwise it's $5 at your local bookstore. They'll get like the instructions that I just read to you. They'll get guide to blazing. Yeah, that's really it.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Of course.
And I was excited about it before. I'm even more excited about it now.
Good. It's a good thing. It's really great for community involvement, and it has brought a lot of visibility to the Conservation Commission.
That's excellent. All right. Thank you very much for taking your time. I hope we might be able to invite you back to talk to our Conservation Commission.
Anytime. I'm always happy to share.
All right. Thank you very much, Daniel.
Thank you,
All right,
Daniel.
Dan.
Nice
And
meeting
thank you.
I'll sign off now. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Go on. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Does town staff have any thoughts about this? That we should go ahead with this? Any reason not to?
No, Marjorie, I think it's a good idea. I think it's a great idea, and I could see ways to get it. I think to make extensive use of Google files would be helpful, so people could see who's, what areas need rangers and what areas don't, and being able to download the template, the welcome packet, that kind of thing. Maybe trail maps eventually, whatnot. I guess the next question is who does this? Who's that Dan in Simsbury?
I know. I love the fact that Daniel takes over the whole, is the head person for it. I know we have one of those wonderful people at the Simsbury Land Trust. We just have to find another one in the town.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like there's quite a bit of correspondence back and forth. That's why I was thinking of ways to cut down on that with the Google Drive or whatever. But but somebody's got to take all those emails. If he's saying he gets, it sounded like he was getting quite a few emails. So who's that initial person that sorts it and then sends a work request to Orlando or myself or Tom Roy? Yeah,
and I know we've simplified it by putting on the land trust. We have a form for each property, and the people can just and that makes it a lot easier when it's submitted. But you're right about the email, Susan.
Well, I would just like to suggest that what he just shared with us is like an overwhelming distance from where we are now, right? So what I think we should kind of, unless the town wants to, let's say, use the ARPA money to hire someone to kind of do this and other like well-being related initiatives in town or something like that, I think we don't have to replicate exactly what they did. And, a simple way to start it might be to just, pick a property or two and kind of use it as like a pilot thing. Maybe we could use the land trust. We could use the welcome letter. We could use the land trust checklist, and it would just be a way to kind of get it rolling a little bit without feeling like we have to launch this huge thing that is a lot of stuff for someone to do all of a sudden. I imagine they kind of built it over time, so it's easier for him to manage it because he's kind of built it over time. That's we need kind of a path, an on-ramp. And I do know the scouts are ready and willing to take over Belden to be kind of the, whatever rangers for Belden. And I know I have a few people that are willing to, I have a list of about 4 people that I know would be willing, and maybe a couple of families that would be willing to be on the list, like for the Ethel Walker Woods. So I think we could get a couple properties rolled in and not, while we in parallel think about the bigger program. I'm just trying to make it feel a little bit less overwhelming. And I know I'm willing to, I can't take this on. I just want to be honest about that.
Yeah. And
we kind of get this. We have this system in place now. It's not to the extent that they have in Richfield, but people do call our office when they see things on trail. I mean, it happens all the time. I get hundreds of phone calls a year. So we are kind of doing this in a low key way. But something as simple as just posting something on bulletin boards near open space trailheads. Then people know if you see something, contact. Let rec department know, someone know that you saw a tree, you saw trash, you saw dumping. that goes a long way, just as a starting base. Going forward, like you said, Susan, maybe we add to that. But for now, let's keep it low key. It's happening anyway, because the phone calls do come in, trust me, throughout the year, especially after a major snowstorm, rainstorm, or windstorm.
Now, do you want them as a phone call, or would you prefer it as a some sort of a report form that comes in? Just say, I don't know what tech app we would use.
It comes in both ways, either a phone call or you typically get an email to my direct line or direct department. So we do get the information. It does come in. At times I might get 20 phone calls, in a week, depending on the season, especially during our fall season, our windy season, we do get a lot of phone calls. So I think people find our names. Trust me, they know who to call when they see a problem. But I think we can also do some postings at trailheads, and that would go a long way, just knowing who to contact, what department to contact. Sometimes they don't even know who to call.
And I think that also gets to the thing that we're going to be discussing next, the website. It would be nice to have a place on the website where people can, they can go, they know immediately, on town open space, click here, it's report.
Yeah, well, that relates to another item of like trying to look at what we might do to refresh and update the website. And I didn't I haven't organized that into a list yet, but we should keep that on the list too. So if people do, want to find something, they'll know who to contact and all that kind of stuff.
And it would be a good place to say, would you like to become a steward of that, of a particular property and walk it 4 times a year and send us a report to let us know if there's anything going on. I mean, it'd be nice to have people have personal responsibility for a particular trail. And that would really be the start of the Rangers.
Yeah, and we had that at some level back 10, 15 years ago, where someone would put their name, attach their name to a section of trail and be responsible for doing the routine cleanup. Just basic stuff, moving debris, picking up trash, a few times a month as needed. We had that program in place back, 10, 15 years ago. People have kind of fallen off of it over the years, and no one has come back in to replace them. So that's kind of, need to get people back involved with that mentality.
So if we could find someone who would sort of spearhead it and continue the outreach and make them feel like, they got the hat. And
their value, which they
got the information. Yeah, I mean, those hats are important, but and make them feel that, this is an important thing rather than I signed up once and nobody cares what I do. Gives a little more structure.
Orlando, do you have the names of any of those people? You don't have to say them right here on TV or whatever this is, but
I would have to check. We actually used to put their names on signs, and the signs would say that this section is maintained by so-and-so. And that was kind of the reward, that we would put a sign up saying that section was maintained by a couple or whoever it might have been at that time. I can check, but we might still have those names somewhere in file.
I just thought if there's people who are already involved, it might be nice to offer them an opportunity to still participate. Say we're trying to reinvigorate it. You might not get your name on a sign, but you can be part of our Ranger crew, whatever.
Yeah. Yep. I'll check to see if I have it on file. And
I like the idea of a brochure in the library or, various places around town. If you're interested in doing this for, call, then we'll have to get someone that they would have to call and organize that group. Yeah.
So we have some kiosks over at the Walker. We can post some stuff up there. We have a couple of different trailheads that we perfect to put some of those brochures in.
All right. We'll take a look. So we'll take a look at the information that Daniel sent, more specifically how we could scale it to do it easily and start up and start looking at. I'll ask the Conservation Commission members if there's anything anyone wants to take anything on. Maybe. Otherwise, we'll continue to look for volunteers to maybe head this up. All right. So any more on that?
No, thank you for getting him lined up, whoever.
Yeah,
took care
thank
of
you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Susan.
And so item 3 is discussion on using intern to make open space websites updates. Has there been, do we have that? Susan, you said you had some students who might be interested.
I do. They're kind of sorting out what they're doing for the summer. So I had a couple of follow-up questions about that. And I've submitted a couple of grants for my students to do stuff. So is there any, would there be someone in town for them to, I guess what we talked about before, just to back up a little bit, is they would kind of like organize a template. I just don't know what would be the most helpful for them to do. So is there someone in town that they could talk to say what form should it be in? How could they just send the stuff? I don't know.
I think the best thing is if we're tabulating something together, we have an idea and they format it. We just need to know what kind of format would be best to submit it in. Usually when we post online, we use a PDF format so it can't be manipulated if someone from the public gains access or can. We had that problem in other towns where we're posting Word documents for agendas and they were easily manipulated by the public. So we typically go with PDF formats. And then it's disseminating them to the town intern in order to post up on the site. Or if we have a request, this is outdated, can you pull this stuff down? The intern would be the portal to the website for materials. It's just a matter of how we get those materials put together. If we use your student help or commission submits something specific in a member formats the document, or if we pull a link that we want to go, I think that's pretty simple to just disseminate to the intern as well.
So are we able to get this information up on the web? I mean, if we assemble this information, how do we get it up on the web?
That would be the intern. That would be the gatekeeper for that. I think that's what the proposal is that he would be able to go to the open space page and post and remove whatever information's up to date and that we want on there. Our town intern, just to clarify.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We have like interns working with interns. So my question is like, maybe the easiest thing would be is to assemble a list of things that we think should be removed and then assemble like a compendium of documents or links that should be added, right? That's kind of like the most basic thing, right?
Yep. And I would do a priority status so that you get the most important things up first that you feel are the most important things removed. And then once that's established, then if there's short-term events, as say the Ranger program kicks off and there's going to be a weekend tutorial for people interested in the Ranger program and we want to post that up there, we could have short-term little area. It's pretty simple. The website's not complicated. We just have to have town staff who monitor it so that we know what's going on and what's going on.
And the town intern, will that be only a summer thing or will that be a year-long thing?
No, we typically have a town manager's intern in the office pretty much year-round. There might be some gaps from time to time, but since I've started here, we've had 2 and it's been staffed pretty consistently.
And that email is like a set email. It's like TM intern or something like that.
TMO, town manager intern, I think, or
yes, at Simsbury-ct.gov.
Okay, I'll continue to try and rustle up a warm brain on that.
Susan, you and I had previously gone back and forth on a list of documents from the addendum to the or the appendix to the Parks and Open Space Master Plan. I have that list. I believe I sent it once before, and maybe it just kind of got lost in the shuffle of things. But I can find that list again, and if not, most of those documents are in the appendix just to pull off.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's an excellent point. I did find a typo. It's like an extra TO in the natural area stewardship policy. So I was going to just make that tiny edit and re-PDF it. But yeah, that would be, I apologize if I missed that email. I get a few.
No, it's not you. It's not you. It was
Oh.
you and I had got the list, and then I'm thinking it got lost in the shuffle.
Oh, right.
My office
That was
getting
the
it to the
intention,
town
was
hall.
to get those documents up there. Okay.
Yeah,
So
not you. It
yeah,
wasn't
that's
you
a
at
good
all.
starting point. Okay. Well, if I do miss an email, I'm pre-apologizing right now.
Yeah. Well, you and me both.
Happens.
And we've got a good, I mean, I'm looking at the website right now for the Open Space Committee page, and, you know, you got your news and announcements, which you get filled with a lot of things, and as well as the sidebar that has the long-term documents in it that should probably be updated, considering we've generated quite a few recently. And then there's a main body area that he may or may not be able to play with, or he or she, depending on who the intern is for the town at that time. But as they get familiar with it, they'll know where to put stuff and play around with it. And we can always make suggestions and see what they know. And IT can slowly bring them up to speed on things if they're not readily aware of how to do it. It's not complicated to post stuff. It's just having access, and we're all very limited to the access, so we don't cross-contaminate pages.
Right. Good.
Okay. Well, this seems like another little project we can chip away at. And I know, Marjorie and I have talked about developing some other little best practice documents on, native planting in your yard, or, lights, outdoor lighting, or, other little kind of white pages kinds of things. So ultimately it'd be nice to have, a little compendium like toolkit for this sort of stuff and on the open space website for people.
And if we could link them to both the conservation page and the open space page, I mean, so that, they don't have to go to, they can go to either or for those things. That would be good.
Oh, that's a good idea.
All right. Excellent. All right. So the last item is the Uglies RFP update.
Got a little hesitant mouse over here that keeps skipping around the page to unmute. Let me pull this up. All right. So the RFPs have been posted at DAS and on our town webpage. People who have been interested in the properties have been notified that they have been posted. So the known interested parties have been notified, and the public is been notified through the postings. We have 2 RFPs up right now. One is for the Barndor Hills Parcel B, which is the old Napolitano piece. Also referenced, I believe, as the garlic farmer a lot. That's a 5± acre parcel. It's located between 2 parcels that Darren Hall is actively farming. So that one's back up for renewal. And then the new one that we had was what we're calling the Meadowwood agricultural lands. And that is an 86± acre parcel that last year was farmed by Spencer Thrall. He grew grains for beer production over there. It is access basically off Hoskins Road is the long frontage of it. Very easy to see. It had all the golden grains on it all year over there. And then the only one that we're working on now is we might not have to RFP it. We had the town attorney review and the Trust for Public Land review the grants and the land holding and how it was set up for 7 barns that are behind that Meadowwood parcel that were previously leased for tobacco drying by a gentleman named Mr. Baggett. Those, because they're barns and not lands, won't have to go to the RFP process. We might be able to deal with lessors directly. Just so, because the way we see it is an attended barn and a used barn is a barn that does not fall apart. We have enough issues with barns falling apart over there, so we'd like to keep those occupied.
Right.
But and as another update, the RFP questions are to be submitted by the end of this week. If anyone has a question about the applications, response by me will come by the 9th. And the closing date of the application is Monday, March 14th at 4:30. And requests will be reviewed on the 15th, hopefully, and selection be made.
So any main questions? It's questions from the public?
Yeah, no, if like someone's filling out an application and they don't understand.
Oh,
I had one question about the duration of the lease, and I know that we had been looking for a 5-year rolling lease. I said, you could use that language if you want to take a smaller possibility and just say, my time frame's probably 2-3 years. You can put down what you want to put down, but our maximum, to my knowledge, that was worked on by the Open Space Committee was the 5-year rolling.
So is that the full extent of the agricultural land that we're going to be leasing at Meadowwood?
That is at this point in time. If we can't get someone who wants to use the entire acreage, we may be able to split that. If someone comes in and says, do I have to take the full 86 acres? We can probably parcel that down, but we have not gotten to that point. It was previously all one farmer. So we thought we'd put it out and see if we can get one farmer so that we don't have to deal with multiple entities. Simplifies it a little bit for us.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. I'll just put out, something that I think a lot of people have been thinking about related to the Meadowwood property is, since it is such a big piece, I don't know what farmers are interested, but, could that be an opportunity for more than one farmer to get started? Maybe farmers that might have some connection to the history of the land or something like that. And I know we haven't had that discussion. And so I guess I'm just a little bit nervous about, like, all of a sudden, since we put so much effort into saying that we wanted to have farmer friendly policies where someone would lease the land for a long amount of time and take care of it, I'm suddenly, after pushing for that, nervous that we might now have the Meadowwood property, and I don't have any bias or knowledge about anyone who's interested in it. Do we want to lock it into one person for an indefinite amount of time? And I also didn't know if part of that land that was farmed before, there have been a lot of reports coming in about special birds and where special birds have been seen. So I didn't know if there might be some piece of that land that was farmed before that was, might be part of the grassland habitat that we wanted to keep for the birds. And I'm not trying to throw in a monkey wrench, but, we don't get a lot of money for leasing this farmland, and we just want to make sure that we,
This is the issue you're going to have if you go to Barn Door Hills Triangle, because you're going to get a blowback about grassland birds, and you can't manage it both ways. So it's got to be a choice of agriculture or, because if we want to keep agricultural lands, it's going to have to be tilled, and it's going to have to be done as the crops are needed.
Not necessarily tilled, Tom. There's no till agriculture. So
there is adjacent properties to this farmland. This farmland, ag land, is over 128 acres, but there's only 86 acres that can be agriculturally used due to wetness, topography, and just typical overgrowth from going fallow. This is just what was typically farmed in the last few years that was accessible to farming. As far as dropping the acreage sizes within that envelope, I think we could think about that. At this point in time, it was an 86-acre parcel that was previously farmed, so we just kept kind of promoting it as it was put out prior. I would say if we get feedback that it's someone doesn't want it, or we see that more farmers have come forward. I mean, this is honestly, out of all these RFPs that we released last week, I've only gotten one phone call. It's about the existing parcel over on Barn Door Hills. And the person who leases the barns is looking at the 86 acres for other things. But I've gotten no other farmers looking into anything at this point. I haven't had inquiries. We do have 5 or 6 other parcels in town that are under lease right now that are up for renewal. So we do have smaller parcels around town. But I think as we approach Barn Door Hills Triangle and to see if we want to revisit that going back to agriculture, that one would have it's a smaller area. I could see this one, depending on what the access is over on, is that county? I know there's an easement for CL&P through there, or Eversource. I don't know how easily the access is over there, but it could probably be split into 2 easily for 2 or 3, depending on what kind of feedback we get.
So sometimes I get confused as to which piece of land we're talking about for what. I know we've got new names for them. Would it be possible to put out a map with various town?
Yeah, these RFPs do have the maps attached to them. But as far as agricultural lands as a master plan, we put that together in one of the Board of Selectmen packets. I don't know if that was presented to the Open Space Committee, but I have parceled all the leasable lands that we have.
Good. Could you just send that out to us? And then, just for our,
let me see if I could even find it right now, just so I won't be able to screen share, but just so if I know where it is. While it's on the top of my head, I might as well look for it.
It's like when someone tells me, it's on the 10th green of the Simsbury Farms. I'm like, I just don't remember.
Yeah, I tried to use road access so that people would get a general idea as well. Yeah. But our RFPs went out with an aerial map highlighting it, just so if people wanted to walk the land, it says in there, if you'd like to walk the land or have any questions, please contact the office.
Good. And I know the town when we did the Meadowwood purchase, they had there was a lot of discussion about there was going to be a plan put forward for the various parts, possible trails and all. Has there been any movement on that?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I just found the document. I'll email it to both of you.
Okay. Well, we had, when the town purchased Meadowwood, there was a lot of, that there would be some public input as to where various pieces. I know there was a land set aside for farming, but there were other pieces, and there were, how we're going to develop a trail, how we're going to manage. There was going to be a group discussion. Yeah,
I haven't gotten any feedback on that process yet. We're just scratching. This was something because of the growing season. I know we worked so hard to get this together that we wanted to get it out. Good. But I know we're going for barn preservation grants right now. As far as public trails or activities, I haven't gotten feedback on that yet. And I know that there is the parcel that is for possible future town use is under this ag lease. So it's because we don't have any plans set straightforward at this point. So we have to carve that out.
So Tom, when you say you haven't gotten any feedback, is that like just general public feedback?
Town manager's office, Board of Selectmen, like any kind of, we just finally got everybody, we finally satisfied the state in evicting all the farmers. Now we're inviting them back. Yeah. And now we're trying to get the barn preservation fund so we can shore up the barns. So little piece by piece by piece. So we'll start.
So it's down the line, but it's coming.
Oh yeah. No, it's all part of the master plan. And I think at some point they may even look, and I'm not sure, but I might be speaking out of turn, but they may look like for a management plan because it is such a large parcel. I worked on one of those for the town of Windsor with their acquisition through Trust for Public Lands. So, because some areas you're going to want to manage trail wise or public access wise. Because as we all know, if you ignore it, it does go to pot real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to personally put my little chip on the table that I would really love. It's such a beautiful landscape, and it has that little road that kind of goes along the edge there. It would be really nice if we were able to have like a, mobility impaired little trail. I mean, it already is sort of that. People could just take a little spin around the edge of the field and, come back. Not a huge trail system, even whatever that's accessible, but just a little jaunt. I think that would be really special for people to be able to visit that land.
And then I think we did have the discussion, Tom Tyberski and I, of possibly having a trail that kind of goes around the entire 85 acres that are there right now. And if it's not going to get farmed this year, we were thinking about even doing some trails in the middle so people can kind of enjoy some walking areas within that 85 acres. So we did talk about that. It's all going to depend on how it's farmed and if it is farmed. If it's not going to be farmed, we can create some trails in there, some natural trails where people can go and just have a nice walk in on the fields. And that can be done in-house pretty easily. And I intend to maintain those outer trails that surround the outside of the actual 85 acres. So we do want to keep that maintained for just for walkers to go out there and enjoy the area.
And also,
I've talked to some people in Hartford. They're really excited about the idea that they could just come and walk around on that land. It's really special. Yeah,
and there are access needs for the agricultural, the access to the barns. The water company is working on establishing their major access off of a cul-de-sac so as not to impede the natural area. If they have to access and do maintenance on the water tower, you won't have big trucks rolling through and all that. But there are needs for agricultural access to those barns in the back, as well as field access. And I know it has gotten pretty rutted up and pretty potholed, so it'd be nice to have that for them as well as for the public. And same thing with some of the other parcels that have some access. I know around the barns we'll probably be maintaining some of that land in order to preserve the barns, so they'll have some access around there as well.
And we're also thinking about having a little natural parking space where we had our little gathering this past fall. So that would be like a little natural area where people can just park their cars and just walk from there. We do not want vehicles driving down to those barns. And we just do not want any vehicles out there at all.
No.
So we want to park in that corner area and walk the site. That's fine. No motorized vehicles beyond that point, because they just, like Tom said, they're just riding out the entire area down there. Just a mess down there now.
And Orlando, when it does come time to plan potential pathways, I think that would also be a time to include some of the birding expertise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of bird habitat there that's just self-preserving, and it's beautiful stuff. I mean, I'm not against ground nesting bird species or anything like that. I just know that sometimes it can be a complicated battle with the public perception of agricultural and ground nesting birds. So it's a balance.
No, I was thinking more of the trails. I mean, sometimes, if the trails are walking through a meadow, that's, you want to keep as much of the meadow intact away from people, but the people still be able to enjoy it. So, no, I understand. All right. Well, excellent. I'm looking forward to the participation in that. All right. And by the way, I just attended a wonderful 2-day conference on ecological landscape from Ecological Landscape Association. And it was a wonderful presentation on the usefulness of developing pollinator pathway buffers within the farmland. So it might be something in the future that we might want to include into our agricultural base, that those things would be, included in the management of the land, but not for today, but just an idea for future.
Yep.
All right. Anything else anyone wants to? Susan.
Well, we have 2 minutes until 4:30. And since we're on announcements, I wanted to announce that some of you may know that this is the 200th birthday year for Frederick Law Olmsted. And he actually had a hand in planting some of the plantings, I think, at the 1820 house in Simsbury. So just FYI, and there are going to be a number of events in Hartford. And I know this is shocking, but I've helped to organize an old growth forest event in Hartford on April 9th. It's going to be a celebration of old growth forests. And for real, we have a pre-Revolutionary War forest still intact on the North Branch of the Park River in Hartford. And so there's going to be a number of old growth forest experts at the event, and we're going to show a film, and we're going to have a walk earlier that day, and maybe free lunch too. So I'm trying to figure out all the great things I can pack into one day. So I'll send everyone more details, but I just wanted to let you know, I think it'll be a really, really special event.
Yeah, definitely send me that information, Susan. I'd definitely be interested in that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. The hours are not enough hours in the day, Susan.
No.
No. All right. Well, if there's anything else anyone wants to add? So
Nope.
hearing none, I'll call the a motion to adjourn. Susan? Absurd meeting.
We did it,
Robert's
Marjorie.
rules doesn't apply for this. All in favor? Oh, that's 4 of us.